Okay, when we think assessments, we often think of the summative assessment, the big assessment. But when we're distance learning, we need to be certain that we are being relevant and strategic when we are deciding what to assess and how to assess it, which standards to assess and how to assess them. Not everything needs to be assessed, and that's a thinking block that you have to come to grips with in order to proceed further sometimes. But when we're looking at summative assessments, the end game here to show that they have mastered or are proficient at our standards, one thing that we need to be aware of is that they're non-Googleable. Non-Googleable assessments. And you probably realized that when we went into COVID-19, like desperation, remote learning applications, that frustration happened because kids would just Google answers to a form or share answers or have like their phone open when we're watching them through Google Meet, but they're still like really sneaky and looking at their phone as they're answering the questions and typing it on there. That's not something to get upset about. That's life. I look up questions all the time. I'm doing the ISTE, the 3-week ISTE Technology Summer Academy, and there are quizzes along the way. And there was one question I knew it. I could think of kind of where I would find that answer at, which module I'd find the answer at, but I knew it would be quicker if I just Googled it, and I did. And so that's human nature. And so we need to figure out how we can assess in different ways and not get upset when people do that. If you are very, very concerned, if this is something that bothers you a lot, you will want to look at the second PD when we look at creating community within your classroom, because one of the things that can really cut down on academic dishonesty, not negate it, not completely knock it out, but really maintain the integrity and reduce the amount of academic dishonesty is by that classroom culture that you're cultivating in a digital platform. But for now, think of non-Googleable. So try not to use self-grading quizzes that are like multiple choice and short answer, because kids are just going to look them up or share answers. If you do want to use like a Google Form quiz or something similar, whatever program you use for your content or LMS, consider open-ended ones. Okay? Consider open-ended ones. That way they have to explain their thinking within it. It does take a little bit more time, so just reduce the amount of questions that you have on it. If you do consider these types of assessments, the more traditional assessments, have them weighted less, not worth as much. And instead, focus most of your attention on more of the performance assessments, the project tasks, to show those higher level Bloom's taxonomy applications and synthesizing and bringing it together. Maybe it's a project where they're connecting the heating and cooling system, I teach science, that they're learning about in science with whatever unit they have within their house. So they have to go identify what their unit is within their house and then identify the ways that energy transfer occurs within that heating and cooling element. And so that would be like a real life application that they can connect with. It gives more buy-in to it. Portfolios, notebooks, those are a good sort to start with. You can use Google Sites for it, Book Creator for those. My favorite, honestly, is really, really easy. It's opening up a Jamboard or Kami or having them open it up and then having them explain, like record their answer and explain their thinking as they go through it. So if you have math problems, you can give each student a different math problem and have them just open it up, or maybe like 3 math problems, or maybe instead of just answering it and explaining the steps that they're doing, maybe teach someone else how to do it. Okay, and why it's different than a similar style of math problem. I'm not a math person. It's been since high school, like 20-something years since I've taken calculus. So I apologize for the lack of correct terminology. But either way, performance tasks, explaining their thinking, applying what they're learning in a project-based setting, that's going to be the biggest bang for your buck. And that's where you're going to want to focus your attention on. And because they are bigger projects, you aren't going to have as many summative ones. And maybe you can tie some of these standards in together.